along today to our IB information session. I'm going to talk to you a bit about the two different pathways, but I'm just going to focus on the information about IB. Our school does have the benefit of having two pathways, and we're the only school in the Central North Island that has the option of doing this IB diploma. So at NCA level 1, all of you will do that, and then after that you will then get the opportunity to choose either to continue on and do level 2 and 3 of NCA, or you can choose the IB diploma. And the IB diploma is one qualification that you do over 2 years. So in a nutshell, it's a 2-year integrated program, which means that you have the same classes, the same teachers over those 2 years, and you build upon that learning over the course of 2 years with your final assessments at the end of those 2 years. So a little bit different than what you do with NCEA there. Similar to NCEA, there are internal and external components, but quite distinctly different. The emphasis of IB is about the learning that is being done in the process, with much less assessment if you consider only 20% internal and then 80% being those external exams. Also quite distinctly different, you need to do 6 different subjects across a range of subject areas, and then you are also doing 3 core components that we'll look at in more detail. So it's quite a comprehensive curriculum. It is academically rigorous because it is designed to be a pre-university course. It's designed to prepare students for what it is like to study at the next level, at tertiary level. Okay, so that includes all of the skills that are needed to be a lifelong learner, know how to study, know how to question your reality and what's happening in the world around you. However, it was designed for the average student. It is not designed to be a curriculum for the academically elite. It is designed for anyone who has the desire to go on to university. It's focused on personal growth and development, and it's internationally minded. It teaches you to be very open-minded and to look at an international scale, but also by learning through looking at local issues and looking through a local lens. Within the IB, it's important to teachers and to educators within the IB to look at you as a learner and to help you develop learning attributes that are going to be helpful for you no matter where you go in life. Okay, so this includes things like learning how to take risks, how to be principled, how to be open-minded, how to be caring, and a lot of these things are important to us here at St. Peter's across the entire curriculum. Another key attribute is the idea of approaches to learning. So looking at teaching you within the core curriculum how to master how to think, how to master how to communicate, and what the girls were sort of talking about before, how to have the skills to be able to manage yourself. This is taught alongside all of the normal curriculum content, and that is a key attribute of the IB. Okay, so the students keep mentioning TOK, and that stands for Theory of Knowledge. It's a core component of IB that all students do. It's an extra subject, and I'll talk about that shortly. But like I said before, you do 6 subjects over 6 different subject groupings. There is some flexibility there. If you did want to have aspirations to go into medical school, for example, some students will choose to do 2 sciences, and there is the possibility to do 3, although that is atypical and is discouraged. Similarly, if you have an aspiration to go on into the performing arts or visual arts or photography, then you can do 2 art subjects. So there is flexibility within the IB as well. Students also study 3 of those 6 subjects at a higher level, which simply means you do it in more depth, and you learn more of the content than you would at a standard level. Okay, and the other 3 subjects you would cover at a standard level. In addition to that, you do Theory of Knowledge, which is a class you do 3 times a cycle, and that's looking at not content knowledge, but how do I know what I know? Just because I know something, does it make it true? And other concepts like this. So if we have a look at this diagram encompasses everything that it means to do the IB diploma. You can see in the middle, that's you guys, the knowers or the learners. Around that, you've got approaches to learning and approaches to teaching. So that's looking at developing those thinking skills, those research skills, communication skills that we just talked about. Outside of that, you've got the core subjects or core things that you would do. Theory of knowledge. You would write 1 extended essay near the end of the first year. and then you would also do creativity, action and service. Okay, looking at that creativity, action and service, this is showing credit for all of those things that you guys like to do outside of class time. Okay, this is where students are acknowledge that you learn outside of the class as well. You can learn from your day-to-day activities. So it requires you to reflect on, well, what are you learning through being part of a team sport? What are you learning when you are having to push yourself really hard in really competitive sports like competitive rowing? What are you learning when you are following pursuits that you enjoy, like cycling or doing art or playing a musical instrument? You can see around the outside of that, those are those 6 broad subject groups. And within each of those subject groups, there are choices. So you can see within the sciences, you would be able to choose physics, chemistry, biology, computer science, environmental systems or societies. So there's a range of subjects you would choose within each of those. Okay, you've got individuals and societies, so that's looking at either economics or geography or psychology or business management. Okay, I've talked about the sciences. Within maths, there's 2 distinctly different maths courses, one that's more suited to students who are wanting to go on to do things like engineering, for example, and one that's more suited to students who are wanting to go on to do things like sciences, because it's more statistical based, or other elements that are outside of these areas. Okay, the arts, we've got a range of art subjects. There's theatre, there's visual arts, there's, it's out of my mind right now, film studies, thank you, and I know that there's one more as well, but there's a range of different art subjects that you can do. Music and dance, so there's 2 more. Okay, so we've looked at these within the language acquisition. Now this is a core part of the IB that a lot of students struggle to reconcile. They want to do IB, but they don't want to learn another language. Okay, the short story is that you have to. Okay, this is one of the things that is not flexible. If you choose to do IB, you must do another language. And this is why your choice is in Year 11, if you're Year 10 students right now. This is where it can be real benefit to you. Now, you could have been studying another language for quite some time, in which case you can do a language B, so French or Japanese or Spanish. And from next year, we're also offering Chinese B. That means that you've already got some foundation in that language. Or if you have not got no foundation in any language, or maybe just 6 months or a year, then you would do an ab initio course, which is brand new. I'm a beginner in this language. Okay, and Spanish ab initio is the course that we offer here. Okay, so those are those group 3 subjects, and we've talked about the sciences and the maths, and then those are a range of art subjects. And like I said before, there's flexibility. If you wanted to do 2 art subjects, then that is definitely achievable in how we design your course. Okay, so ideally you choose 1 subject from each of those 6 subject groups, but there is flexibility, and these are some examples. So you can choose not to take an art subject, and instead you would get to do 2 of the sciences, as well as English, a language, maths, and a humanity. Or you could choose to take Environmental Systems and Societies, that's what ESS stands for, and because that technically fits into both Group 3 and 4, you could do 2 Group 6 subjects, or you could do 2 languages on top of English. Okay, you can have some flexibility there. Or you could do ESS and another humanity, or ESS and another science. Okay, so there's also other possibilities, but to do those other possibilities, we would have to apply for a non-regular diploma. But again, there's quite a few different people's options that are able to be met. Okay, your requirements are able to be met. So if you're wondering if what you want to do is able to be achieved, then come and have a conversation with me about that. Okay, those core parts, CAS, creativity, action and service, so that's all your extracurricular endeavours, your sports, your music. Extended essay, you write 1 extended essay, which is 4,000 words long, which sounds like a lot, and it is very scary for students. It is essentially learning the skills of how you would write at university level. So it's incredibly valuable. A lot of IB students tell me that this is one of the single most valuable things about the IB diploma. It means that they are much better prepared once they hit university than the peers that have not done IB. The theory of knowledge is a course that asks, how do we know what we know? It's not about what you know. I'm asking, how do you know that? How do you know it's true? How do you know it's valid? Just because you know something, does it make it true? Just because it's true, does that mean that it's therefore reliable? Can you rely upon that knowledge and use it? It asks those sorts of questions. It asks you to what extent can you trust the world around you and what you think you know? And if you can't trust it, how are we supposed to move forward in our societies? It's assessed through two main assessments, and for students coming in from next year, the assessment's slightly changed. It's no longer an oral presentation. Instead, you choose 3 items that represent your ideas in response to a stimulus, and you present them. So you don't stand up and talk. You either take photos of them or you present them in a, what would you call that? Like a display. Okay, so there's no longer the need for an oral presentation. That changes from next year, but there is still the essay, and the essay is written in class time in year 2. The extended essay and TOK, collectively, how you score on those, they help contribute to the bonus points. We call them bonus points. These are the points you can only get if you've done well in the extended essay and TOK. Okay, and those are the extra 3 points that would take up the score to 45. Okay, CAS, this is the extracurricular activities that you do. You have 1 lesson a cycle that helps you to plan your program and helps you to reflect on that program, because that's how it's assessed, by looking at your reflections, which show, can you recognise how what you're doing outside of the class is helping you grow as a person? It's not worth any points at all, but if you don't complete CAS, you cannot be awarded the diploma. And then there's that extended essay. So in terms of assessment, like I said before, you do 3 subjects at higher level and 3 at standard level, but each subject you are given a grade out of 7. Okay, so it's not worth more if you do well in a higher level subject. They're worth the same amount. Each of those grades add up to a score of 42, and then you can get up to 3 bonus points from EE and TOK. You only have proper external exams in November of your 2nd year. So at the end of your 1st year, you have school mock exams to help you know how you're going and to show your progress, but they do not count towards any grade point average. They don't count or affect your final grade at the end of the 2nd year. Every subject also has an internal component, which is usually worth about 20% of your grade. To get university entrance, you need 24 points overall. Okay, so 24 divided by 6, how much points would you need for each subject? 4, okay? Roughly, to get a 4 is about 50%. Okay, so this is what I mean by it's designed for the average student. It is not overly difficult to pass IB. Okay? And you only need those 24 points to get into university. To get entry or automatic entry into pre-med courses or engineering courses, our most competitive courses in New Zealand, you need 33 points. So again, it's not that many. You don't need to have an overly high score. This is how highly regarded the IB is to our universities. They respect the course so much that that entry point to get automatic entry into those very competitive courses is relatively low. At our school, half or more students will get 33 points. Okay, most students do very well here. Most students pass. We have at least a 95% of students getting university entrance year on year. And those students who don't get that university entrance, often it's because they've adapted their course to not do the full diploma, which is also another option where you can do courses and therefore you don't get awarded the full diploma, but you get certificates in each one of your subjects. So the last thing that I want to end on is, how do you know if the IB diploma is right for you? It is another option. It's very different, but at the end of the day, you need to decide, am I going to enjoy this pathway? Is it going to get me to where I want to go? And is it going to meet the needs that I have as a learner? Okay, it's well suited to students who are self-motivated, who are organised, although these are skills, as you've heard, that you are taught and you learn along the way. It helps if you're able to show initiative, which means to have ideas of your own and action them. It helps if you enjoy a challenge and you are able to persevere.